Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about how you can grow your business, your company, your baby, because that's what it feels like some days. This is going to be different. I've done several videos on this, but I haven't done this. So these are things that you can do that are going to help you push that company forward. And maybe you've thought of them. Maybe you haven't. I'm not going to guess what's going on in your mind. But the goal here is to discuss these things that are important so that you can do better, right? Like you can take your company to the next level, whatever that may be. Maybe you're stuck, and this is going to help you get out of it. So I'm going to break down these different ways that you can grow your company that will make your life better, okay? So let's get started, shall we? Actually, I'm sorry. Forgot to introduce myself. My name is Taylor Darcy from Think Legal, where I help people and businesses thrive. If you're new here, I go live Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock. Most days, I take a day off occasionally here and there. So please join me. If you have any comments or questions, make sure to leave them in below. I'm happy to answer them. And let's get started, shall we? All right, we're back. So these are, number one, tried and true. That's probably the best thing. And number two, it's things that you can control for the most part. There are some things that are outside your control. But the idea being that whenever you allow other things to control how successful you are, like I'll give you a for instance in a minute, then you're leaving too much up to chance. Okay, for instance, and this is just to give you an idea. If you go to a networking event and all you do is give out business cards, but you don't get any business cards, how can you follow up with them? You can't, right? So you want to take that locus of control and put it when you're thinking of these things and keep it in yourself or your business or someone that's responsible for those things, because otherwise you're going to run the risk that they're not going to contact you. And then what? They may have your information, but if they don't contact you, what good is it? Right? How do you stay top of mind if you're not doing these things? So, or if you keep it out of control. So the first thing is you're going to want to implement new processes. What do I mean by that? If you're manufacturing something, you're going to want to find ways to improve your processing, improve your manufacturing, right? Like look at your bottom line, look at things, how much things cost, see if there's ways to do things more efficiently. Maybe there's a better material that doesn't break as often that allows you to, maybe there's a new system that you can implement, a new software program that can automate things for you. Maybe you can negotiate with a vendor for a better delivery, right? A better cost for the delivery. Maybe these are just ideas, right? You can cut the fat in the supply chain, right? Like, so you can cut out things that aren't as important as others to get the cost down. See, these are types of things, again, that are in your control to evaluate. It's important that you evaluate them to begin with and trim that fat. Like there are things where people get bloated and things, I don't mean physically bloated, the company gets business bloated and the expenses get overwhelming, and it's time to take a look at those things and see if they're delivering the type of customer experience, product or otherwise that you really, really want. All right, so that's number one. You want to implement new processes. So new software, CRM, which in case you don't know what that is, it's a client relationship manager or customer relationship manager. Think Salesforce. I think it's Keep. It was Confusionsoft. There's lots of different CRMs out there. Some are special to certain industries, and then others are big, broad, and you have to like spend money to develop it. But it can be a custom made to your company. So that's what Salesforce is, by the way, in case you were wondering. So all of these things can help you innovate and make things more efficient and make you more money, right? Because if you can spend $1 and instead of only making 50 cents, you make 60 cents, well, you've just increased your profitability per item a pretty decent amount. I mean, even if it's only a penny, that still counts in the aggregate, right? Okay, so that's it. New processes. Number 2, new experiences. Have you taken a look at the way your customer interacts with your company? Now, I'm not saying Apple is the end-all be-all, but one of the things that's been their success has been their stores, right? You go into Apple and you get a different experience in their store than you get somewhere else. And some people like that and some people don't. You're not going to be a fit for everybody. But what I want you to do is I want you to take a look at your current practice of how you interact with your client or customer and evaluate whether that is the persona, the idea that you want to present to it, or can it be improved? Can you do better? For instance, for me, I have a client intake form that I send new clients. Well, I have what's called conditional formatting on there. So that what that means very easily is rather than like when you go to the doctor's office and you have 9 pages of things to fill out and only like 3 or 4 of them are maybe relevant, and sometimes there's only a box or 2 that even matters on there. What my form does is it asks questions and then it prompts you for the next thing based on the previous question, so that it's as simple of a intake form as possible. And even then, I get people that don't want to fill it out because they think it's too much information, which is fine. But what that does is it tells me that I need to look at that and see if there's a way that I can improve it. Okay. So look at customer and client feedback as an opportunity to improve your processes, improve your systems of how they interact, make it as easy as possible for customers to get to you. Does it mean it's going to work out for every customer, every client? No. Don't have unrealistic expectations. But if you can get one client by changing one thing on a form, that's worth it, right? Now, there's some argument on the other side of that that says if they're going to be that difficult with one thing on a form, that maybe that's not the best fit. And that's a different argument entirely. But the point of this is to reduce the amount of friction between you and getting paid, you and developing that relationship with your client. Another, for instance, if you are not accepting credit card these days because you are a cash-only industry, I would encourage you strongly to look at getting paid different ways. Cut that accounts receivable down. Get your clients and customers to pay you as easily and as quickly as humanly possible, right? Don't depend on old ways of doing things and expect to get new results, right? You need to, if credit card is where it's at, Cash App, Venmo, Zelle, PayPal, whatever it is that you want to do, but be consistent, right? Don't keep changing every week, because then that creates friction. You want to reduce the friction. Okay. So new experiences, new features, okay? This one kind of drives me nuts. And here's what I mean by that. Every year there's a new iPhone. In fact, the iPhone 14 just came out recently. There's some new features on there, which are cool. Whether or not I get it, I don't think I will. It's not enough of an improvement or more features that I need to justify the expense. But the point is that's a way to keep within the same customers and you're selling a new thing. Think back to the minivans. It used to be minivans only came with doors on one side. Yep, and it was a sliding door all the time. Now they come with sliding doors on 2 sides. Now there's some what's called planned obsolescence involved there, but that's how you implement new features, right? Like same product, it's a minivan, but now you've got new doors. And now all of a sudden you've got people saying, you know what? That single door minivan is not good enough for me. I need that 2-door minivan. So then you're going to encourage your previous customers to look at this new 2-door minivan. This is an option. Those are just ideas. I mean, backup cameras. Who here has a backup camera? That's legit one of the best things that's ever existed. But they used to only come on very high-end vehicles, and now they come on economy vehicles because, 1, the technology's gotten cheap enough, and 2, the demand for it improved enough for it to be there. But I would argue that feature is fairly small in price, relative to the value that it is. How many accidents could be avoided? Deaths can be avoided. So many options there, right? So that's a new feature on a car. Apple Play, right? Like there are certain cars that have Apple Play that didn't exist 5 years ago. And maybe you're all in on Apple, and I'm not saying you have to be. You're all in on Apple and you realize that, well, why not get a car with Apple Play? And so when you're shopping for a car, you're like, hey, I want that car because it has Apple Play, right? So new features in what you're doing, okay? So same product, new feature. Okay, that's the next thing. New customers. This one's kind of easy. So you've got existing stuff, but you want to sell it to new people. You need to sit down and look at your client acquisition plan. How are you acquiring new clients or customers? Write that down. Expand on that. See if there's new avenues that you can get to that can help people find you and you to find them, right? Because there's typically people don't know that they need you until they need you, and they don't know that you exist for a bit, okay? So the idea being that you want to be readily available for those moments when they need you. Because let's face it, not everybody's in the market for a new car. Not everybody's in the market for an attorney at the same time. You'll come upon a thing and you're like, yeah, I need to do my attorney thing, right? I need to find an attorney. And then it's important to you. But 9 months out of the year, 10 months out of the year, it doesn't mean anything. So you want to make sure that you are planning these things, continuing to market, even when you think you have enough clients. It's always easier to say no than it is to be hitting the bottom of the barrel and not having new people coming in. So you need to keep continually filling your pipeline of customers and clients. The next thing is new offerings. Is there a product that you can offer that will feed into a new market, right? Is there something that could move that business? Like they talk about vertical and horizontal in business school, and basically different things can do different things for you. So in other words, here's a good one. Original Pancake House. It's a restaurant near my home. They only do breakfast until like 1 or 2. They don't do lunch or dinner, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. And the problem is their restaurant sits closed in the afternoon. Well, I know a lot of people that like breakfast for dinner, right? Like breakfast is good anytime. So maybe they should consider, yeah, there would be increased labor and increased supplies, but maybe they should consider staying open for dinner. Or as my wife likes to call it, Brinner, okay? Because that's a way, because they're paying the same rent. I mean, unless it's tied, there's other reasons. But anyway, point is they should at least evaluate that, right? Maybe they have a fewer staff working at night than they do in the morning and lunch until 1 or whatever it is, right? So maybe they have a skeleton crew at night, but that's additional revenue they could pull in that they're not. So those types of things, like if a restaurant only does lunch and dinner, maybe expand it to breakfast. Those are just ideas, right? So look at your product offerings and see if there's an avenue that costs very little to get into, but can help you over that little hump, right? To get you to expand. And maybe it works, and maybe it doesn't. But that shouldn't dissuade you from trying new things just because it may not look like it'll work, okay? Because you don't know it until you do it. I mean, because let's face it, Denny's is open all the time, right? So if Denny's can do it, and their food's not that great, no offense to Denny's, but I don't like Denny's food. But anyway, point is, the original Pancake House, on the other hand, has great food, right? Like I love their food. They're awesome. So my point is if Denny's can do it, if another restaurant can do it, why can't you? And I mean, I'm saying this obviously, if another company can do something, why can't you? Now, maybe it's something you have to wait on because you don't have the capital to do it. That's understandable, but that should be part of your planning process. You should be evaluating these things. And then, for instance, maybe for the original Pancake House, they can't offer it right this minute for whatever reason. But that doesn't mean that you can't start the process to get it there and then pump that up in your marketing to sell it, to get people to know that it exists, right? Because as of right now, most people think, oh, you're closed in the afternoon and evening. So I'm not going to go, right? But if you send out advertisements and Facebook and blah, 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 telling people that you're now going to be open for dinner, even before you're open for dinner, you're going to have a lot more options there than if you don't. So it's important that you recognize that even though you can't do something right now, it's important to market for things that you could do in the future because it creates a need. It creates a want there. Okay. Next thing is, I already did new offerings, new models. Change the way that you're creating value for people. Like, for instance, there aren't very many attorneys on YouTube and Facebook and that do videos on a regular basis. There are some, but this is a new way of creating value. I'm doing this partly for my law practice, but partly because, well, how do you get to know me best, right? By interacting with me and seeing videos of me, and people call me and say, hey, I saw you on YouTube. I need help with this product or the legal matter. And so people get to know me and they're like, yeah, I want to work with him. He's a nice guy or whatever, right? And so find new ways to interact with your customers, not just experiences. Okay, we already talked about that. I'm talking about find new ways to create value. For instance, Home Depot. Lots of people don't know this, but Home Depot offers, I don't know if they do it during the school year, but they do it during the summer a lot of times, where they will provide the craft material and you come and build a craft free of charge for your kid. I mean, how many people will then buy stuff from them, right? They come in for this free craft that costs $10, maybe, right? But how many parents will be there and say, oh yeah, I remember this home improvement project that I need to work on. And I'm going to spend money here that I wouldn't have otherwise spent because now I'm here and my kid's doing this thing. And this was a super nice thing that they don't have to do, right? They could avoid doing that. They could just, hey, we're selling everything. I don't care what, But I would argue that those types of things where they create that value for kids, they're going to hook parents in there big time, right? Half an hour where the kid's dealing with this cool craft thing and you get to kind of like take a chill and they get to have fun and it's totally awesome. So, but yeah, it might cost them a few bucks, 10, 15, maybe even $20. So they have 10 kids, $20, $200. But how expensive, like you buy one new thing, one parent buys a $200 item of an air compressor or a power tool of some sort, and they just made their money back, right? Or whatever their margin is, right? So I get that. But the point is they create this value for people that you're like, oh, cool. And then guess who you're going to go to the next time you're thinking of a power tool or anything? Home Depot. You're going to pick Home Depot over Lowe's, not because they're inherently, quote unquote, better. They might even be more expensive, but they gave your kid a cool thing to do and they do it all the time. So it's not like they say, oh, one a month. No, you could do it a couple of times a month. It's that type of thing where you're providing new value to people so they build that relationship with you and it gives you the opportunity to be successful, right? Because people like to work with people if you've watched any of my other videos, you should know what's coming next, know, like, and trust. So anything you can do to help improve that know, like, and trust will help you build your business and will help it move forward. And these other methods will keep that locus of control at your company rather than external things like when people call, right? Because it's easier to control what you do than it is to control what somebody else does, okay? So thank you so much for joining me. If you've gotten value out of this video, don't forget to hit subscribe and like and notify that and hit that bell icon so you're notified of when I go live. And we'll talk to you later. Have a great one.